Julian here, and today, as you can see, I'm in a bit of a different location, got some cool lighting behind me, and I'm going to be showing you how to make techno in the style of Spektre. So, as usual, you get the project file and the samples from this video in the description, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there, because they'll be available shortly. Before I get started, also, hit the like button, and make sure to hit that subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the little notification bell so you get notification for all my uploads. Anyway, yeah, let's get started. This loop you heard in the intro, we're at 128 BPM, and the first sound we have here is this pad, which sounds like this. So what this is it's kind of just like a drone. It's just playing the simple D sharp minor chord. That's the key word in D sharp minor. You can see it's just, here's a regular D sharp minor triad, just D sharp, F sharp, A sharp, and then I just took the F sharp, the minor third, and put that up an octave. And it kind of spreads it out and makes it sound a little bit bigger. So then for the sound on this one, I made it using analog. And what we have here is two saw waves going into a formant filter. So if you don't know, analog has these formant filters. And what you can do with these is you can kind of like shape this and give it a more kind of interesting sound, I guess. Basically what a formant is, if you don't know, is it's kind of like a vowel sound. Like it's kind of like A, E, I, O, those kind of sounds. And yeah, you can just kind of use this to shape your sound in a similar way to how like your mouth would shape those sounds. So that's what I'm doing here. And it's just, in this case, a nice way to kind of make an interesting pad, because like it can be kind of boring just working with saw waves and square waves and sine waves and triangle waves over and over and over again. Like sometimes, you know, you want to do something a little bit different. So this is kind of a cool way to add something a little bit different to it and give it a cool texture. After that, you can see we've just got a bit of vibrato in here. Actually, the vibrato is on, but I have it on 0%, so I guess that's not doing anything. But I do have a bit of unison here. So the unison just makes it sound a little bit bigger, kind of, you know, gives it a more like detuned sound. And yeah, that is it for inside of analog. After that, we have this chorus, which you can see is just set like this. Pretty simple, just a little bit of chorus. I got a little bit of reverb on that at the end as well. And that is it for the pad. So the next thing we have here is this lead, which sounds like this. So what this is doing is this is one of these kind of like big sort of like leads you hear in a lot of Spektre tracks, where what'll happen is basically they'll have like a little like minor kind of thing here, like I have, and it'll just sort of hit and then ring out for a bit and come back. But it's not like, you know, it's not just playing a melody the whole time through. It's just kind of giving you these little melodic things, and it's really nice. I like how this sounds in the track. It kind of spaces it out more and makes it feel less like an 8-bar loop or like a 1-bar loop or like a 2-bar loop. You know, kind of, yeah, so it's kind of cool. So like I said, for the notes here, really simple. It's just playing all these things which are based on a D sharp minor chord. You can see it's all starting on D sharp. And yeah, like I said, we're in D sharp minor. Anyway, for the sound on this one, I made this using analog. We have got a saw wave, a square wave. You can see the square wave. We've got the pulse width up a little bit, and a little bit of white noise. And those are going into a filter, a low pass filter, which just got a little bit of an envelope on it, you know, kind of like a plucky sort of lead like that. And yeah, then after that, we just got a bit of vibrato, a little bit of unison, and that is it for inside of analog. So the next thing that we have here is just a little bit of delay, or actually kind of a lot of delay. You can see I've got a ping pong delay here doing 16th notes, and then I've got an echo here doing dotted 8th notes. And what's happening here is we're getting this big sort of like stereo delay doing 16th notes from the ping pong delay. I'll show you if I just kind of play that one. But then when we bring in the echo, that kind of makes it ring out a bit longer. So it's kind of a cool way to do this. Like, this is a nice way to play around with delays. I feel like delays are a really good way to get like really cool kind of textures on your sounds. So yeah, definitely I like doing stuff like that for the style. After that, we just got a bit of reverb. You can see not too high on the dry wet. I've got a little bit of drum bus as well, kind of making it a bit fatter, because if you don't have this, you can listen. It sounds really thin and like just really dry. That just kind of helps to give it a little bit of a fatness boost at the end of the chain. And then the last thing we have on here is just an EQ8 cutting out the low end to make room for everything else. And that is it for the lead. So the next thing we have here is this 303, which sounds like this. So this is really simple. It's kind of like a call and response thing with the lead. Like the lead The lead plays, and then while that's ringing out, we have this little thing just come in. So it's just playing D sharp, really simple. Yeah, nothing too crazy there. I made the sound with analog. So what we have here is just a saw wave, one saw wave going into a low pass filter, and you can see the low pass filter has an envelope on it, and I've also automated the frequency and the resonance of this filter. So you can see, like, yeah, I've just got this moving, and that's important for the 303 sound. Like, if you want to get a really good, like, evolving, sort of morphing 303, you know, you need to really automate also the resonance. You can't just do the frequency, because it really, I feel like it really helps to make it sound, like I said, like it's changing and really, like, evolving. So, yeah, that is really it for inside of analog. After that, we just have this echo, which you can hear is doing eighth notes. Pretty simple there. Then I've got a bit of drum bass to kind of fatten it up. And then the last thing we have on here is just an EQ8 cutting out the low end, and that is it for the 303. The next thing we have here is the kick, which sounds like this. The way that I made this kick was actually by using a 909. So here's the original sample that I used. Just like a really standard 909 kick. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn everything off and just kind of reverse engineer this for you. So basically what happened was I took this 909 kick and I put it into a simpler. And you can see what I did here was I kind of shortened the amplitude envelope a little bit, turned on the sustain and the decay, and then I added a pitch envelope. And what the pitch envelope is doing is it's basically just kind of giving it more of like an impact. So here's without it, and then with it. So you can hear it's just giving it a bit more of like a hit at the start of the sound. You can see I also tuned it with this thing just to get it right in D sharp so it wouldn't be, you know, out of tune with everything else. But yeah, so then after that I have the saturator. So I'll turn this on while it's playing so you can hear. So you can hear this is really beefing it up. It's giving it a lot more punch and a lot more power in the mix. I'm just going to drive up a little bit, and then I've got the wave shaper on there to kind of give it more of an edge. So then the next thing that I have here is this audio effect rack, and this is doing the sort of standard techno rumble. You can see what we've got here is I have a dry chain and a wet chain. On the dry chain we've got nothing, and then on the wet chain I have got this. So I've got this reverb, which I'll just kind of turn these on one by one so you can hear. So basically we have the reverb, 100% wet because this is the wet chain, and then that's going into this amp, which you can hear is kind of bringing out the rumbliness. And then we're just honing in on just the rumble part with this auto filter. And then we blend that in with the original kick. And there you go. So from there what I did was I added this drum bus. So you can hear right now, this is getting there, but it's still not quite got that like big, powerful techno kick sound that you hear in like a lot of Spektres tracks and a lot of other producers as well. So then the next thing I have here is this drum bus. So you can hear that really takes it and just gives it so much more power and like, yeah, just really makes it hit even harder. So what this is doing is I've just got a bit of drive. You can see I've also got the compression on down here. That just kind of made it sound a bit fatter. Here's without it, and then with it. Yeah, it just adds that extra little boost. Then I've got a bit of crunch, and the last thing we have on here is just a bit of this boom, just to kind of give it some more low end. Here's without it. And then with it, it really helps to sort of make this more well-rounded. And then the last thing we have on here is just a bit of EQ8. So what this is doing is I'll show you, here's without it, and then with it. So what we're doing here is just kind of like honing in on what I like in the kick. Like, I didn't really like, there are some kind of boxy frequencies, like around there going on. As you guys know who watch my videos a lot, I love to turn that down. So yeah, I cut that out to just kind of make it a bit more clean sounding. And then I've got a boost here for some punch, and then a high-end boost to kind of give it more like click. And yeah, that is how you take just like a 909 sample and make a kick like this. So that is the kick. Next thing we have here is this clap, which sounds like this. So it's just like a little clap, just like, you know, kind of a standard techno thing. This is actually something that I think you should know, though, because this is like one of those little details that I feel like a lot of beginners miss, or like, I mean, I missed it for a while as well. Like, it's just one of those things you don't really pick up on when you're first trying to learn how to make this stuff, because, you know, you're trying to just find like the most basic things first. But these kind of like little percussion hits like this clap here and this little ride cymbal really help to add some like extra stuff to the mix. And yeah, I feel like it really helps to make it that much more interesting. So I've just got that clap there. You can see it's got a little bit of reverb, a little bit of drum bass. The next thing we have here is the ride I showed you, which is just, yeah, it's really simple. It's just a ride cymbal. I just took this sample, and you can see I high passed it, and then I'm just kind of going through a little bit of ping pong delay. After that, we have these hi-hats. So these all together sound like this. Basically, we just have this one doing 16 notes, and then we have these two layered together to do the hi-hat on the upbeat. So one thing that I will say with these hi-hats is it's very important to get the layering. And the reason for this is because if you listen to these kind of tracks, it's not just the kick that has a lot of impact. Like, all the percussion has to have a lot of impact. And if you just have like a thin hi-hat, like something like this, it's really just in the high end on its own, it just doesn't really have enough power in the mix. Like if I just show you this, it feels kind of weak compared to like everything else. But then when you add in a layer like this, which is kind of more in the mid-range, it kind of balances out a little bit more. So it's a little bit more powerful, like I was saying. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like I said, like I feel like a lot of times these little details are hard to pick up on, but that's definitely important, like layering the two hi-hats together there. So then I have all that percussion I just showed you in a bus or a group, whatever you want to call it. But basically, what I'm doing here is I've just got some effects on these all together to kind of like glue them together and make it a little bit tighter. So here's with nothing. And the first thing I have here is this drum bus, which sounds like this. So you can hear that really takes everything and just kind of gels it a little bit more. It's kind of like saturating it a little bit more as well, so it's making it all sound more similar to, or all the different sounds sound a little bit more similar to each other, just by putting like kind of the same processing on everything at once. After that, we just have a bit of compression, which sounds like this. Here's without it, and then I'll turn it on. So you can see, this is very subtle. It's not doing a whole lot. I've just got it on there. I've got the attack up a little bit so it's not messing up the transients. And again, this is just kind of like helping to flatten everything out a little bit and just kind of glue it all together, volume-wise. After that, the last thing we have here is just this EQ8, which sounds like this. So you can hear this is just doing two things. One, it's cutting out all the low end, and there's not a whole lot in the hi-hats. But you can hear that clap when I had this turned off. It had some kind of messy low end stuff. So this just kind of cuts that out and cleans it up. And then it's just got a little bit of a high end boost as well to kind of bring out some of that crisp high end. And yeah, so that is pretty much it for this one. So I hope you guys enjoyed it very much. As usual, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. You can get the project file and the samples from this video in the description, so make sure to check for that. And if you're patient on my Patreon, check there because it will be available shortly. Thank you very, very much, everybody. I will see you all again tomorrow with another video.